Oh yeah, the mic was off the whole time. Great. I don't know why I turned it off. So whenever someone comes back in, I'll explain that all over again. I'll have to cut it out. Hello, Oscar. How are you? Oscar, I bought Custom Robo 1 and 2 on my game outing. I found Marvelous, but it was only the box version, so I didn't want to spend, what was it, 9,000 yen on it. Yeah. Yeah, so for basically the mic being bad, I got Carpoon stable, got to play with my nephew. He wanted, it was one of those things where it felt like maybe I was done 2 years ago. Could have had versus mode in place, the A button. I'll do a video on that later. Yeah, I think that, yeah, the mic. That's right. I found the game. I got Custom Robo 1 and 2. I feel like my computer is doing a Windows update right now. This is fairly slow for Carpoon. It's like I never know now with Windows. Like, are you secretly working in the background on something I don't know about? Oh, I made it so if you're playing Carpoon 2 monitors, you can mouse off, although it does make it go down. It's at least easier to do. You don't have to Alt tab out. Yeah, that's a little faster without seeing OBS. Yeah, with my mic not on, it's because right now I kind of have to set up and tear down and put everything back together again in order to have dinner. This is just a kitchen table. This will be the last time though in this stint in Japan. So yesterday won Splatfest as Team Rice. So yeah, yesterday I was out most of the day, so unfortunately I missed out on that. It happens. Like very busy weekend actually doing family stuff. But I'll have to be sure to do that grand festival. So Park and Panic. Park and Panic is basically done with the update, although I do have to do the walls. If I really wanted to, I could do nothing and it would look fine. The was it John had suggested if you harpoon this, it crushes. The wall I think still has steam. Whoa, that I must have clicked the mouse out. Replace. Oh, maybe it slows down when the focus isn't there with the mouse. But stuff like those surfboards are giving points before. These are all things you start finding out about. Oh yeah, Team Future. I think I had chosen Team Future as well. Or was it Present? I forget. So this all is running okay right now, but with 2 people on my laptop, it did kind of slow down over time. So I was thinking that these conveyor belts I could just render out and make an image. And then if I did want to make it faster, I could just make an image. Like the actual finding the cars, that could still be in there, but I think if I didn't draw them, it'd be good. If I might have to fix the frame rate for testing. It does cap at 60. We can see if it goes under 60. Yeah, how do you tell if I haven't used the frame rate much? It's the downside of working on like Ryzen 7s or i7s. At one point I had the Surface Notebook, and so Carpoon started, for like multiplayer, started running slowly on it. These belts so to test with my nephew I got rid of the second one, but yeah, when I was playing it, it slowed down so much it was hard to harpoon anything. It felt like half speed. So maybe the lava can just be like, I can probably make bad images, and I can like cut it in key places and overlap. How the cars recently, yeah, they inverted the colors, so the hot ones actually look like hot cars. That was an easy shader. It's only like 4 lines. It was in a YouTube tutorial. But stuff like that, or maybe having metal in the middle, might be better. See, now it's dipping below 60. It's starting to, like those steam clouds, I wonder if they're deleting. That's one other thing. It's like something could be accumulating in memory, and that's something I don't really deal with a lot. Or the waterfall, like people don't see the waterfall, and that might be sprites. I think they loop around. Maybe we'll check that. So you see what it tries to run it in the pause menu. It's not capped. Frame rate goes crazy. So let's see, if I pause it, yeah, everything does stop moving. Okay, well let's maybe duplicate this level, and let's find out if it's the lava, the conveyor belts. Oh yeah, I can. Aloha, Hayden. HPR Charter, how are you doing? Yeah, it felt like I was in a tropical climate this morning on a jog. I guess you would know all about that type of weather. Surviving over here too, thank you. Yeah, kind of realizing my third level is, yeah, it's not always too humid, but when there's no breeze, it can be really bad. Like the other day, it was in the evening, and I was thinking I was doing okay, and then I think I was inside a train station just briefly, and I looked down at my arms, and they're like, all the sweat drops were just pooling on them, so you can like catch up instantly. No, but I guess I've done close to everything I want to do in Japan so far. Although I didn't find a Dragon Quest 3 yet. I'll admit I might go game shopping one more time, but I don't know. I'll see how time is. As we know, it's like almost easier to watch online. But okay, well, thank you, Aiden. Yeah, that's most important. Thank you for dropping by. I appreciate it. that reminds me, I should let the game explain Discord know I'm actually streaming. Yeah, so doing this on Tuesday morning in Japan today instead of, usually on the weekend just because out for family stuff. So maybe during the week is a better time. Okay, that's done. But so we'll copy the room and just make a duplicate. See what slows it down the most. I'm guessing conveyor belts. Because that's something more I built. Oh yeah, I heard that, Oscar. I was kind of surprised. Like wouldn't think she's that old, but uh, not everyone. Well, I wonder how old she was, but not everyone gets to live to like 80. It's not a given. It's always like appreciate every day. Okay, so room. This is weird. Like I can't just go into room order and duplicate. I have to go down to rooms. I guess something I'll be doing in a few days. Oh, still kill the stream. Just catch that. Yeah, no worries, Hayden. I was doing riveting, letting the Discord know the thing is there. Yeah. No, that's exciting though. You got your excuse me, next video underway. See, Yoshiko recorded me playing F-Zero AX, so I might make like a vlog about that. Apparently it's super rare. Apparently there's like 2 in Tokyo, so I was very lucky to find it. Hi Eric, how are you? So yeah, only 46. That would mean like I couldn't imagine. That'd be like that's me in 4 years. So that's very sad. Especially because I remember the cartoon from back then. Yeah, like I had a hockey teammate. We have an annual golf tournament for him, and he had terminal cancer. I think it's like his late 20s, around 30. Chris Caford, he was a great leader, and but even though he beat the diagnosis, he was so stubborn, so strong-willed. He kind of came back from it 2 times until the 3rd time it finally got him. But I guess where is it? I did get a couple of those gotcha things from the Nintendo store. It's funny. There's no lineup for the Famicom NES ones, even though that was one where I thought if I can replace the B button on my NES controller from holding it down for Mario for so many years, it's well worth it. While the GameCube N64 line, that was the one in the line. And I was playing one button bosses when I needed like a snack game because Balatro stopped loading on my Steam Deck. One button bosses was published by Outer Sloth, the Inner Sloth publishing company, where they reversed the logo. I was enjoying it first, but then I got to a part where it's actually starting to get hard, and fairly early on. So I'll have to maybe start over from the beginning and get used to it. It's a game. They do a lot with only holding down one button to kind of circle around a boss and shoot them. Oh yeah, it's hard to remember some nice Carpoon or cartoons. I'm thinking of Carpoon. That sometimes uh, there's different voice actors for like different regions. Eric, do you want? I feel like it's wrong if I don't give you special powers. So, may I give you special powers? Moderator powers, that is. Well, thank you, Eric. Yeah, like it's better. It's better. There you go. It's better sometimes, like if I do a quick video. Like I know everyone doesn't have time to watch one of these streams, and I've been thinking that maybe next week, like I'd like to do one classic game and one new game, indie game. Like look at it every week or maybe alternate to add to it. And I just got to decide if I want to do it still on a channel only about developing games or do the smart thing and have two YouTube channels. So like a lot of Pierce has done with many different podcasts and things. Or to maybe bring on smaller or similar indie devs and interview them about their process if they have time, like Spaceflux. Those are just a couple ideas that I had. Well, that was pretty great news the other day too about so, smaller companies, but yet huge companies. Tango GameWorks and Hi-Fi Rush coming back. It's like one of the few good stories of the year. And sorry, I didn't realize. I think I did see you move, but then I forgot. So I was sorry about that. I was hoping to get to see you again at PAX this year. Let me know if there's ever an Indiana game conference, or maybe they gotta have something there. So now right now we don't see it because I think I hit it, so I don't move it all around. Yes, lead. So VFX designer, that's cool. That's one more thing. Now, how about the I think the producer, like the lead guy who prototyped it? That would be a key one because they only had a team of 2 people prototyping that game for 9 months at the beginning to get it approved. One of them was a programmer who didn't know much about music and timing. So maybe that helped to make sure it was really solid. Because not everyone does. I don't know. Games like Crypt of the Necrodancer, they allow it so you can go one full beat off. Yeah, I guess some people does take time. Some of them might have new jobs already too. Like that's the thing when this sort of happens. It is also Obon over here. It was a long weekend in Japan. Obon being, I guess, for a Japanese people visit their ancestors who passed away. I got to see a neat little festival for that with everyone sort of dancing around with music in near Akihabara. I think I've added too many layers. I can't see it. This is hilarious. Here we go. Okay, waterfall effects. There's lava. So this is the actual level. I have a duplicate level that I can rename. So we can basically just delete this effect. Because these pieces, like if you want to see how it works, this is a piece. I can leave one piece in, maybe. But where is it? It's got a shader to move. I want to show it. So from the lava animation, which is like if there's one big piece. This is the magic. It's got a displacement map that passes over it and causes a ripple. Like there's probably all sorts of neat effects like this. And somewhere in here there's, let's see the texture. It uses this, it's basically a cloud texture that goes over it and causes the ripples. So that is like, shader magic is one of the things I don't quite understand. Like I can maybe copy a tutorial and move around. I'm not making my own shaders. That's something I can improve on. Because they are basically magic to me. I think you get into games and there's like multiple shaders and stuff, and where things really look good. I mean, Unreal probably takes care of a lot of that. Probably makes it easier. But a GameMaker, this is what it's like, and it just moves over time. So you say that, Eric, but the main thing is, let's say, all it is it takes getting a circle to move on screen. Like if you get a circle to display, and then you get it to move, and then if you get it to move with a controller or a keyboard, and that let's say, oh, here's my, let's say for some reason this lava is moving downstream. We would add an event, step event, and basically it's just like this: x equals x plus 5, 5 being its speed, and that should move it right. So if we were to run this lava should move. And that's how I started. And basically I asked the Java summer course teacher a whole bunch of questions about it. And I got along furthest, but I would have problems. It wasn't easy. It's still not easy. I think now with the YouTube tutorials too, and Google being more prevalent, although I say Google searches aren't that good, maybe it recommends YouTube a little too much, which is slower. You basically just have to, there's always that what you know, what you don't know, and what you don't even know about. You kind of have to get in that middle one so you know what to Google for, essentially. Can you imagine if your doctor, though, was like, oh man, I haven't seen this before, I better Google it, like during surgery? that piece is now gone. I think it moved. I think it moved on us already before it started. I'll have to be a bit quicker. It's like, trust me, it just works. Yeah, there it goes. Whoop, it's gone. Goodbye, piece. I made it a little too fast. There's something to do where the frames also go by time, and I don't always do that. Which means Carpoon will probably be horribly broken on faster computers in the future. Oh, so Oscar, that's someone who was also a voice actor on Pokemon. Oh, that's neat. Yeah, Eric, right now I'd say I'd like to be done within 2 months at Carpoon. Because it's only really finishing the balancing on Autoworks right now, and then making sure all the bugs are done, because the volcano level's done, Park and Panic is essentially done. So I think when I add more features in, it just makes it more complicated and causes more things to break. Maybe makes it even less fun at times. So that's my plan. So this took longer than I thought. I did a Java course. It's like a shoot 'em up, a side-scroller shump, and I tried making a game. I tried making little games in Flash and Shockwave during university. So I would program those. Like I did different tile map stuff, and like Flash and Director Shockwave was more fun than Flash, to be honest. There's a guy with a site called Robot Duck I kind of looked up to at the time, and yeah, so then I would do little Flash games. Like the biggest one I did was a drop-down puzzle game. Like you would stack blocks, and you could kind of move any part of the blocks to the side and drop them down. That was probably the most complete game I ever did. I was considering like making a similar game like that with battles similar to Tetris DS, where you're kind of pushing the other player. Um, that's maybe an idea for the next game I do. So I kind of thought this might take 2 years. Yeah, this is like 5 years. The biggest thing is whenever I make something, sometimes, yeah, I love it too. Can we still play it? We can play it sometime. Uh, the biggest thing is I'll make something and people won't understand it right, or it won't come across as I expected. Maybe something else will be more important to work on, and so I'll have to go back and recreate it. So it might take 6 times as long as I think. So I'll have to go through the process twice, and the process already takes longer than I expect. So that's something I learned. Maybe I've learned more about like quick prototyping. Like their initial versions of Carpoon were very simple prototypes I got done for Game Jam. Since then, maybe at times I tried to put too much fancy art in because it was easy to do for me because I loved the drawing part and needed to know more about the programming. So I've kind of learned like prototyping a game doesn't even have to be in programming. You can prototype with paper, like chess pieces. I could be doing toy cars and trying to figure it out. Like that would be a much quicker way to prototype and figure out the rules for Carpoon. And things like the crusher, the timing on the crusher took a really long time to get right and kind of not just automatically kill players. Probably, like for instance, now the baby trucks should go around it and avoid it because they'll go right through and get crushed. Yeah, storyboard is exactly like do a storyboard for a movie. That's a super quick way. any like programming is the longest way. Also in prototyping, Rami Ismail, for instance, says in their actually programming the prototype, he says, "Don't worry about making nice code. Like we'll delete everything and start over again." I always heard of people like remaking games or just prototyping them from scratch or from nothing. Sounded crazy, like when a porting process, but maybe that actually isn't so bad to start clean. Oh, yeah, that's a neat story, Oscar. This level, probably more cavern stuff around the edges, because you can't really see that. No, but these are all lessons that I think I'll put together in a video pretty soon. Or my Was I Done 2 years ago video. And I've seen some people, they do a lot more playtests than me. Oh, so a few years, what have you learned in the process I wish you knew going into it? I wish I knew more about the producer role and things like just prototyping more early on before things are added instead of trying to tack it on later, and not feeling the need to add in more modes and features. Not making a factory level. Like imagine if I didn't make this factory level with lava and the conveyor belts and stuff. I probably could have created more types of cars instead, and that would have been more valuable. So more testing, more playtesting early on, and not being afraid to scrap ideas. I have scrapped many different ideas going into Carpoon, like over the years. Things like the eyes, like when you exploded, you would have like the Pac-Man eyes that you'd even control them, and they could cry and leave tears that other cars would spit out on, and you'd have to go back to the starting point. It was just a bit too complicated. Probably GameMaker physics aren't that good, although it made it quicker for me at first. And I think the main thing, though, I knew at the time, like it's important to prototype different ideas, like the downwell creator, they call him Mopin or Jiro Promoto, I believe. He did a lot where, oh yeah, that font I upgraded. I didn't like the font before, so the Wave 2 font's better. He was like making one game prototype a week, and then it was like 11 and they came it down well. I didn't want another Carpoon because many times I created many different, I want to turn down the volume. Sorry about that, everyone. I want to turn, so I want to just choose a project, stick with it, and get it done. Oh, that's not so bad. Yeah, so maybe I should have been willing to do more testing Carpoon. I didn't want to have a gun in Carpoon. Maybe it would have been super easy to just have cars that shoot at you like Spy Hunter. No, but this factory level I probably was too ambitious with. I could have just been happier in a different city layout level. Yeah, I kind of knew, I think by bringing it out to like a Vancouver indie meetup though, that was a great experience to get feedback right away. I still remember the time I had tank controls, and the guy was so happy to play it, but there's no controller support, only keyboard, mouse, tank controls. And he touched it and started moving, and it's like, is this tank controls only? I said yes, and he turned so sour immediately, and just said no, like he was French, and like and walked away. That was my first experience with someone not liking Carpoon. I think I quickly made it not tank controls after that. So right now the frame rate is lowering without that lava. It was running a bit faster at first. I'll have to think if there's more lessons, but yeah, probably like just sticking to a smaller scope, more quick prototyping without doing the art first. Like, you can have ugly looking prototypes and know if it's fun or not. I think when I wanted to bring it to meetups, I wanted to have something that looked decent. Like, if somebody has a fancier game at a meetup, more people are inclined to play it. I don't know, it's not necessary, you can get friends and stuff to try first. So that hot car, I decreased the amount of smoke. It's kind of a little crazy. This car is kind of slowed down. I think the gold car, I'll have to check, it might not be creating particles. One of the things I learned is, yeah, I thought, he said, it's like, realizing after when we're setting up, like, maybe this isn't the best table in a parking lot on Capitol Hill just to set up a laptop. Like, I seen like one guy walk by, it's like, is he just going to like run off with the laptop? That was like a hindsight setup, but it worked out. We're still around. That darn pie place that only has dessert pies and hard alcohol all of a sudden, as opposed to meat pies. Well, something funny about Carpoon too is the jump. People like the jump, so I might see about like another game in the future that uses that. It's tough though. It's like my ability is at 2D drawing, and Carpoon is really hard with the amount of frames it has to draw more cars. That made it harder. So it's definitely slowing down still without lava. We got a couple things. I can try no cars and see it. So I had frame rate issues noticeable on my Surface laptop. I think. Oh yeah, that. But basically, there's something called like sine and cosine math for triangles, and you have to figure out like that's kind of like a hard math to do, and all the cars are kind of doing it always for every angle. And I created a kind of lookup table for it of different things, and that sped up a bit of time. I probably have way too many objects. Like every piece of level is an object in Carpoon, or like the exhaust of a truck, I think that is an object just because it works. Like I might have to make that a it's called like a particle system. So I think all these things kind of added up in this level. I would say on the surface, like Carpoon was a one-player game originally, but like, well, I love couch co-op games, and everyone does, but they also do terrible marketing, and they kind of they are not the ideal game to make, especially during the pandemic, but even before then. So when more trucks are added in, the trucks have a lot of different objects as part of them, because you got your tow arm, although now I think I'm smart enough where the tow arm could have just been drawn on the truck. I created a separate object at the time. The harpoon's a separate object. These are things now that maybe I'm smarter, I could kind of condense it or and make it easier. Like I think people that use tile maps, I love interviewing people about their games, so it's fun to look back about it and think about it. So with Carpoon, I was actually chatting with a friend, and I think somehow the idea came up to tow truck cars. There's actually there's a Sega game I think called Jamba, where it's like an arcade game where you're like safari hunting with a harpoon, and I think that is what inspired Carpoon with cars. So, and it actually didn't have the googly eyes at first. So Andre, I think, was playing it one time. He thought, because of his love of Stunt Race FX, it would give it a lot more character if I added googly eyes to the trucks. So, yeah, that's kind of, it was a simple idea. It sounded like a lot of fun at first to try and experiment with. Sometimes one of my friends suggested making it more like Towerfall, where you only get 3 harpoons maybe, and you have to collect it. But I didn't really want that. I might have added more to it. Things later like Video Ball, where you could maybe charge a shot, would have been smarter. Because I have it where you press, and if you hold longer, it would go farther. Like these are problems people have kind of solved in the past that maybe would have worked, but with Carpoon, it was just mostly like a different idea at the time that sounded fun. Tow truck harpooning cars and like recycling them, trying to make the environment cleaner. And I don't remember many other games like it. I've seen similar games since then. There was one that kind of looked like an Akira motorbike with a harpoon, and No Clip Stunt Derby, they added a harpoon mod at some point. But that's just because I've worked on it for so long. Like obviously, it's always different grappling hook things that look kind of neat and work. So that's how, and just built on it since then. Yeah, it's probably Jambo Safari. I never actually had to play it. I only ever saw it. So use a lasso. So yeah, and of course, car harpooning. Well, it's very easy to make that harpoon. Did you ever get to play that game, Eric? And it's like I haven't really looked at it back since then because I don't want to take ideas from it. Although maybe it solved things. Like one thing I would have loved to do better in Carpoon is more of like a fishing feel when you're reeling in cars. I couldn't quite nail that with the GameMaker physics and stuff. Like I kind of cheat. When you're reeling in, I just kind of make the car go closer to you. It gets hard when the car is going further away. So, it was on Dreamcast too. I wonder. I am in Japan right now. There are game stores. I could look it up and see if I could buy it, but then again, I'll be in Japan probably not too long in the future too. I can wait till then and compare it after finishing Carpoon, which would be kind of funny. I do have 2 Dreamcasts already. I'm not sure if you can mod one. Like my friend just gave me his after he was done with it. Dreamcast is the only console I ever fixed because it's so much like a PC, and I was like, this feels like it's overheating. So I took it apart and I put more thermal paste on the CPU or GPU, and yeah, that fixed the problem. Okay, we are going to now not draw the conveyor belts, which So here's a funny thing. I have different paths in this level. Some of them are for cars. Maybe. But some of them are for the conveyor belts. Like these things that I'm turning on and off. And yeah, here we go. So here, I'm gonna copy Jambo Safari. Let's take a quick look. Okay, Naomi board, different than the Triforce board, which F-Zero AX has. Oh, it was never released for Dreamcast, so... But it's on Wii? At Nintendo DS? That's crazy. I gotta check. I do have a Japanese Wii, so... And I have a DS. In North America... Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Dreamcast. Well, the Naomi Harbor was like powered up Dreamcast. It might have been on a. It might have been like planned at some point, but didn't happen. Well, maybe it's in North America, so I'll look into that. I'll look into that more later. May just do eBay. Thank you, Eric. Okay, so these back to the conveyor belts. These eyeballs, they render. These eyeballs were supposed to be in. I had it set up at one point so cars would be on the conveyor belts. Yeah, so these used to be like floating, and the cars would be over the conveyor belts. This was like prototype art. When the car went over a jump and touched these eyes, they would get the googly eyes on the car, and then start driving around instead of just being on the conveyor belts. But then it's like, well, this is too complicated. It's like too much for people to figure out. Like it kind of felt unnecessary. So then I used I used them to render out the path. I don't think we need this. Maybe this will make it quicker. I feel like I should... No, I'm not doing anything, so... I'll delete that. There'll be one less thing to check. I find GameMaker always kind of closes in on me. It makes me claustrophobic. So... let's just not draw them now. We gotta make sure we detect... Well, I guess we don't have to make sure we detect the path. Let's comment this all out. Okay, I think this is what draws it. It's drawing a line at a whole bunch of different points. Maybe it's not. I think it detects something. I think something else might detect where the cars actually move. So we'll see. Yeah, here in the alarm. It checks not every second. So ideas that I'll show you one. I'll show you one idea right now that I never thought of adding. Shark car. I thought if you went out and about, shark cars would go in and attack you. And that would keep you like Banjo-Kazooie from going too far to the ocean. Because in the treasure trove cove, there's that shark that comes and attacks you at that level. Uh, I know. It's tempting. Go around. People do want a surfing car level, but it might be one of those features I have to add in later. In the game trailer, this was originally going to be the end scene, but the hot dog cart was just too funny. When it explodes, there is a monster truck boss. That boss, it's almost fully drawn, but I never got around to adding it. It would basically just probably like target you, drive, and you have to avoid it and then hit it. And I was kind of debating on like if you had to harpoon the tires and just let them go. Oh yeah, the crusher originally didn't crush. It was just a pad that you drove over and the cars exploded. But then I kind of drew a crusher, so there were a lot of ideas I did try and I removed them. One idea I had that I've seen before is like, imagine if I'm harpooning. Let's say I'm harpooning a car going this way. I don't know if you can see my cursor. Let me see. But if you're harpooning a car and the harpoon went around the edge and it was stuck in the car, that you would, the rope would bend. That was something that it's like, that's a little bit more work. That's not really needed. So the rope just goes through things. Back to this level, this truck was added in because at first I couldn't nail the two volcanoes to sacrifice cars to. So how the team dynamic worked here changed a lot. But then there's only surf cars on this level, this version of level, and versus there are no surf cars because then I have to like redo how all the edges are. That like I kind of want surf cars in it, so. And I think I had different ideas for more cars over the years, or that I just kept it simple. And drifting cars is something I always wanted to do that would make it a lot more exciting, but just one more thing not to do. So, like, I feel like I'd have to redo the AI for cars. So I held back and didn't do it. Like, there's a lot of iteration on ideas at times. So sometimes an idea is in it for a bit and then it's gone because maybe I implemented in a way that didn't make sense or it just was better without it. Destructible bricks maybe on the first level, like only the statues are destructible. I was thinking of maybe having buildings break too. I didn't do that. But let us now see if I stopped rendering or not, or if we need to find something else. I think the thing with Carpoon is that I used to have ideas all the time, and but I wouldn't finish things, so maybe I held back on the part where I had more ideas always. I just focused on finishing. and also not to jump to a new project. Yeah, but like I've had people suggest things like I think kind of live service type ideas that maybe would make more sense to get people to play more often. That I kind of like, yeah, I don't really want. I think Kit was saying one thing. It's like, remember when a game could just be pick up and play? Where are those these days? On Steam, unfortunately, now, as this Chris Z Zukowski or something says, a lot of Steam games that do well are deep games with complicated systems, especially if they aren't 3D art, and that's not necessarily my style. Maybe I'll try to figure that out one day, but for now, simple games. Yeah, exactly. So we're definitely not drawing the conveyor belt. So we are moving still though, so that's great. Okay, yeah. So we'll see. The frame rate is definitely a lot higher without them. We'll see how it holds up. It is going down as more cars come in. In fact, I do need to fix up the shadow here. The shadow is something called a state machine for different states of the claw. So when it's in the state it's going, it's the shadow below it. But when it picks up the car, the shadow disappears. That shouldn't be too hard to fix. I might also use a sprite there so I can have fuzzy edges. Or see if there's some more of that shader magic. Frame rate still is going down a little bit here. It's funny though, without the conveyor belts, you like maybe here it's a little empty, but you don't really not notice them. It's like the Park and Panic update where I was adding more stuff. Like I could just finish now and wouldn't have to worry about too much. So that SUV was kind of created to have two people at once. I do wish I had more cars like that. Yeah, exactly. Like a developer can notice all these details that don't really matter. And sometimes, like in my Trello that I'll show you later, I have a polish list. And there's a lot of things that ultimately don't matter compared to things that I don't see necessarily until there's a playtest for a player playing it. Things maybe I just ignore. That should be more of a focus. So that's always something to consider. I might create something to show the number of objects left in the game. That could be interesting. Frame rate obviously is like gone down almost by half here, which is a bit concerning. I think something else is building up over time. I found in this level, around the halfway point of waves, it kind of all feels the same. Like, it's not the same as a Park and Panic, but it's more memorable with what the cars do. Like taking different paths, or many different loops or combinations. Probably because of the way they move. That's something I want to address, and that was kind of the main purpose today. But also, making sure the frame rate is good enough to play it, that is another key thing. So this gold car will try to avoid the area you're on. Well, hot cars kind of. But they kind of kill themselves easily. I'm probably going to make it so, unless you drop a car in, it has way more health going through lava. I did change this pile of cars for now it can go to 2 piles. It will no longer go above the screen in Volcarnage Island. And I did add more car types to it recently. The biggest thing that took the longest to fix. There are 2 that are up there. Last year, when I was getting Carpoon ready for Linus's LTX Expo, and I asked Linus if I could show Carpoon there, and he said, "Oh, that would be great for a tournament." I'm like, "Oh, that's great." Then I realized, a tournament, it can't crash, and there was a rare, semi-rare crash that was more common when more people were playing it, especially like harpooning all the time. And I think I had about 3 or 4 months, and I was kind of working on Carpoon different things while trying to fix that, and I had to kind of go in and rebuild a lot of how harpooning cars works to get rid of this crash bug where I think like at some point it was trying to find an object that it no longer had a reference to, and that caused a hard crash. And that was coming in, I think I fixed it maybe 2 or 3 days before the tournament. I think I was testing a week or 2 before it, and then I created a new bug where right away if you harpooned a wall with somebody else, like the game would crash. I'm like, no. And yeah, that's like, I don't like touching stuff that works, so that was really hard to go into and like fix it. And another one is the camera bug right after that, where the camera would kind of jitter. Like I could be in a level, this one was okay, but I'd be in a level and like not moving, and the camera, it always would try to zoom in or out depending on where you were. So if you're standing still, it just like there wasn't a perfect spot for it, so it'd always be going like in and out like that. And that one still for Autoworks on different resolutions is, I found recently, is something I'll have to adjust a bit, like probably on Steam Deck too, because it's very hard to get a camera to zoom in and out with multiple objects. And a game, part of what makes the game easier is leading you with the camera. So I try to, yeah, I can show it to you quick. So you see, if I harpoon a guy, there's those sparkles that go to him. Harpoon a car. That is so a camera tracker sent out and keeps the car in place. And if I didn't have the sparkles sent out and I added it immediately, the way it is now, it would be a sudden jerk in the screen. Before I had a lot of smoothing where it kind of would just work, but in order to move in and out quickly enough with 2 players, I had to do that. And things like, you see this square that's around me? That's so if I don't just spin around, the camera doesn't go nuts. I have a little blue dot that kind of tracks the player that the camera follows. If I didn't have that and be like, ooh, it's spinning around, then the camera would be super wonky and annoying. Things like that took a long time to figure out, like set camera boundaries for a better experience for the player. I think some games it's easier where you can just lead the camera and put it in front of you, but since these are more arena maps, it's a little harder. So when like you have 4 players going in and out constantly, there's a lot of zooming in and out. If I had game levels that were a single map, maybe that would have been smarter. Like a single screen that just didn't change. So I think this level is a bit smaller than Autoworks, which helps it out. I'll be excited to grab more coffee, and then I will be deleting more things. But no, Eric, thank you very much for dropping by. I really appreciate it. I'll say at the beginning too, getting the harpoon to work with the rope, especially a physicsy rope for part of it, that was difficult because you can't just Google how to do a harpoon with a physics rope and drag objects around. And then the challenge of multiple cars harpooning one car and knowing which one to kind of release first. That was a bit of tricky with lists, which are kind of like arrays, because the car has to have a list that kind of grows and shrinks and keeps track of everything. So maybe the waterfall is slowing things down. Yeah, if the physics, some of the rope physics were hard to figure out, but some of the car physics took a long time to figure out. Like GameMaker lets you create a shape for it and rotate it, but it doesn't let you change that shape. Yeah, it might have been better if I didn't use true GameMaker physics, even though it was quicker to get at for cars to bump into each other. And like in Carpoon, it's all kind of fake where it's rotating the sprite around it on top of the physics object. But it just kind of has to guess an average, which is why sometimes there's a bit of jitter when the car is moving. I really did try to smooth that out a lot, as much as I could. Oh my lord, is it spawning? So we want to create objects, we want to track objects right now and stop this waterfall. So yeah, I didn't have to change it much. GameMaker makes it pretty easy. I'll show you right now. This might be handy for me to look back to in the future too, because sometimes just recording a video of yourself doing this is a way to do it, and it's a good refresher. So there's enemy car, there's enemy car van. Two good examples. So if I go to physics for enemy car van, we see this has a density of 40 and friction of 20. Let's see now if I open enemy car, and we'll try to move it down. No, don't come back. Come back. There, we'll get more space. And I should have done more. There's something. So you can have a parent object and inherit variables in that. I didn't do that too smartly. So its density is 0.5. Well, this density is 40. And its friction is 0.1. Now, admittedly, the enemy car van, or SUV, I called it a van at first, it changes once two people harpoon it. And that was a little bit hard to figure out, because I had to figure out that to do that in GameMaker, similar to how there's parked cars in Carpoon, when a car is parked, it actually, in order not to move around a lot, I have to delete its physics and add in new physics with a heavier weight. And that was a little tricky to figure out. Like that, it's not, I feel like you should be able to change it on the fly easily, like a variable, and GameMaker, at least back then, didn't really support that. GameMaker does change time to time, but Considering how I recently fixed one bug, I think it's still like that. But yeah, that's for most part though. It is easy to change it there. Let me see if I can find the player truck. Player truck should be just a little heavier than an enemy car. Yeah, so its density is about 4 times that of a regular car. Its friction's less though. Maybe playing with the angular dampening would have been another way to get rid of the jitter turning around. So yeah, like GameMaker is set up in a way so you don't have to do coding if you want to. But the way I learned from the different tutorials was to do this sort of code blocks, which made sense for me after doing Flash and Director programming, a little bit of C# and stuff. I think something about making this game too is that I wish, it's like you hear about these marketplaces to buy assets like for Unreal and Unity. The GameMaker does have one that I've used sometimes, like for the tutorial text, where it's kind of wavy. It was like $2 or something, and one advantage of Unity and Unreal is it's like a way better marketplace just to buy stuff and prototype it. So while GameMaker probably is way easier to use, the marketplace on the others might be beneficial to consider them next time. So we are creating instances all the time, deleting them on this waterfall. Maybe we don't want to do that. So I'm gonna not create any of them. We'll just see if that works. I think we'll have a few at first. Or here's the easy way if you don't want to do something in an if statement. And if 1 equals 2, then it will never happen. Unless there's some hole in the universe. I forget what I gave the gold car. I think the gold car is a little heavier in physics. Because although the way it drops in jump code, that is just by my code, not by physics at all. Well, that A button I screwed stuff a bit recently. Okay, fun fact now, these first 2 levels, they alternate randomly. So for playtesting, I can see people try different levels. Otherwise, they always would just kind of go to Park and Panic by default while they're figuring things out. But I don't make them go to Autoworks first because it's a much harder level. I really should have kept it an easier level. With 3 levels, even though you think, oh, I should have a hard level, it's just not really necessary. Okay, I forgot to check the amount of objects, but yeah, we're definitely not creating stuff. That's a little bit of a shader there. Should be fine. We do have these smoke particles creating. Press 3 in Carpoon for more time. Press 4 for less time. That's a very handy shortcut I added in. That arrow I thought could maybe look a bit fancier. That's pointing to the last car. I feel like the frame rate's still dropping. Maybe just naturally it happens. Maybe I think I'll check the number of objects. 'Cause there's gotta be a way to keep it running at a decent rate. So yeah, still one disadvantage of trying it on my computer at home mostly is that it'll just push it through everything. So here's something handy with the manual. We can probably see here if there's a way to count number of objects. No, it's not an instant number. Okay, instant count. All right. I think I do this because at one point I made it so cars going off screen they deactivate or don't draw to save time. Now, okay, another thing that was creating it was the player exhaust. And then finding just control find all helps for that. Oh yeah, that's still an object. I'm gonna get rid of it. Yeah, well, thank you very much, Trump by Eric. I appreciate it. I'm gonna play around the different times, and of course, I'm in Japan now, so it's the morning. Maybe when I'm back next week, they'll be earlier again. And no problem. Glad you learned something. Maybe more fun. Play a game next time as a break. I'll find out. You take care over there. I will continue Autoworks for these 30 more minutes. I know Yoshiko doesn't have coffee yet, so I might make her coffee. Okay, we stop player exhaust. We want to show number of objects on screen. Let's see if it's becoming some ridiculously high number. So I think probably finding the frame rate is the easiest way to do that. I implemented it so long ago, I'll have to find where I put it. It's probably in one of the game managers. Here we go. Please let me grab and expand this box. Ah, well. I do create an average frame rate because it changes so quickly. Let's add a new line. Darn you, laptop. I think Trist today probably might have a new video up on the channel, but I'll have to check that out later. So this should draw the number of objects. I'll see if it keeps going up a ton. I will also stop the I believe with each one of these orange boxes they create particles, kind of like little steam clouds. I'll check it. Nope, not on this one. Maybe in the mask object it creates it. Oh, so that's how I draw the lava ripple around the player. I draw it on these pieces, which is kind of surprising. I thought it was with the player, I forgot. So I think the lava stream steam is just created once. I don't have to do that every frame. Let's just see if the instant count gets super high and it's slowing things down. Nope, didn't compile, error. I see. I had to put that in the for loop. We'll just comment it out. Or I'm going to put a 1 equals 2 if statement. I'll remember more that I've done that today. Okay, let's see if this speeds up the Autoworks, or we find out there's a million objects being created and have to figure out where they are. Like, I think in GameMaker there's a way to see what's using the most resources in memory. I might have to start looking that up. It's like the debugger is something I never really figured out. And I just kind of made my own little debug messages. Whoa, I need that more space there. That's a bit better. I should probably compare the amount of objects in this level to Park and Panic and Carnage Island. It seems to be hovering around 350, not so bad. Probably creates 3 objects to Harpoon and Dragon Ball. That is because I create an anchor point to allow the Harpoon to stick to a different spot in the center. On that wave, a lot more objects are created. Oh, that... So that crate blowing up creates a whole bunch of particles. I don't think that's necessary. Created like 100 particles. Okay, tons added here. See if it goes down after. Like, I think those sparkles might be different objects, not particles. So we're now, like, we haven't done much, but now we're hovering at like 30 more objects. I feel like something has been created, not bleeding. When that card's hit, those aren't particles, those are objects. 400 now. This might be something in Carpoon where one thing isn't being deleted. That I'll have to look into. Not a lot going on. The frame rate now hovers around 60. So definitely though, that gold card and the sparkles. I could probably stop. Probably stop that and make sure those sparkles okay. Making car exhaust from the truck particle system. Yeah, so we ended up with about 100 more objects than what we began with. So that's something I'll have to look into. And it could be why it's slowing down. So I guess I want to check on Park and Panic quickly. What happens there? Oh, I just lost video. I am on a Wi-Fi router, which mostly is good, but sometimes it stops working. So, Park and Panic, for instance, this has 272 objects, so about 80 less. Good evening, York. How you doing? Just trying to see why the Autoworks is slowing down a bit. It does start with about 80 more objects in this level and ends up with about 100 more than it started. Oh, thank you. Yeah. The sewer is a neat addition. It's something I want to think of more in games, like more emergent gameplay opportunities. And like I can be chasing around these cars and look, then that jump happens and I have to wait till it lands to harpoon it. Like I've had it where normally I could harpoon a car like there, but thanks to the jump now, like you can't. That's something I think that adds a bit to it. Kind of like how the statues out of the bit when they get destroyed before. It's like I hope to think of more things like that in the future. No, my nephew had the feedback of wanting cars that attack you, but that's honestly kind of solved in versus mode when other players attack you. So, well, sometimes like a person will identify the problem but not give maybe the best solution. It is a good solution. I just never really wanted to have a gun into Carpoon. So, and I'd like to be able to finish the game at some point. I would say in this level the number of objects didn't go up as much, which helps it. Maybe it's a smaller level. Yeah, this level has a similar amount of objects to Park and Panic, so probably starting out with 100 more objects doesn't help Autoworks too much. What I would say for playing with my nephew over the weekend, like definitely versus mode was where I was at with him now. Before co-op was more fun, but I think he wanted more of the competitive element, getting older. Definitely was like leaning forward on his seat. So maybe like adding co-op wasn't necessary. Maybe always some people like that little bit of challenge. I don't know, I like co-op mode. So yeah, I was thinking back to like when you were saying it's like I was done a long time ago. We're all playing it, so maybe I just didn't know when to finish, and only that little A button grab when you select, when two players are harpooning each other and you can press A button to break free, maybe that was all that I needed. This one's definitely getting a few more objects. Not many. That, the explosion, I think I should change that to just particles. That would probably help things. Those are all little objects. Which is probably bad. Yeah, so Hayden, you see up there I'm like testing the number of objects that are in Carpoon at any one time to see what the average is here compared to Autoworks. And so Autoworks starts at 350. Well, these ones start at about 250. Those surfboards, I'm thinking I wanted to make it so they more center into the hut here. They kind of like aim over here for some reason. This is the one level that I did have to rebuild at one point, so I am pretty happy with how it turned out. Even though I need to do the Scully update and have it so more cars come in when you're doing super well. That can be achieved either through extra cars surfing in, and they can give you a bonus, or I can have cars shot out of the volcano. I could have cars secretly spawn from behind the volcanoes. This is me doing like the Sakurai, what if any kind of solution could happen. More cars could come in from the cruise ship, although that'd be a bit tricky when they spawn in. I could have crate copters drop it off. It's like 4 or 5 solutions. So I could have the statue come to life and drive around. Yes, this one looks like about 50 more objects than when we started, but still under the amount that Autoworks starts at. Is that Brandon, creator of the amazing Ryan Gosling Carpoon fan art? Oh, Brandon, how you doing? Wow, thank you everyone for dropping by. Maybe during the week is better. I just did it this weekend because of a lot of family stuff. Yeah, Brandon had a good idea of like eyebrows on a car. That's what my nephew was kind of suggesting for cars to look evil. They have eyebrows. Oh, you can see here. This is a recent add-on. Now there's 2 rows of cars. Yeah, you can see it around me. There. Whoop. Well, I should have just turned myself invisible, but yeah, that was my fix. Instead of, I had the option of trying to make it so the screen scrolls like 4 swords, but I will say Nintendo has billions of dollars, so they have that kind of budget. You love the no eyebrow look. Okay. Maybe, like, I think eyebrows would have added a bit more. So I think the eyes, just with the like changing their eyelids. Yeah, we're on the same page. But the eyelids did add enough, and probably could have been pushed further. But I do hope here, like I said 6 months in the past, I hope to finish Carpoon before. Like, I hope to have any like extra work done within 2 months. That doesn't mean it'll be released in 2 months, because I want to play with testing and stuff, and also Steam. I think Steam has 2 weeks in place to. I think like you have to have it in Steam with 2 weeks, and I do want to have the playtesting that one. So basically, I have to make Autoworks faster, No, Brandon, you need those eyebrows. Although maybe that would make you look like a tough guy who's been boxing for many years, and maybe all the ladies would like that. I'm just, you never know. No. And so there's that. There's camera, so better camera scaling at times on different monitors. Although that's not a deal breaker. Like I could check Steam analytics, and maybe people don't have 1440p monitors, although they do have Steam Decks. Like it doesn't have to be official. Doesn't have to be official Steam Deck support. So those are kind of quick things to do. Stuff like the leaderboards, which I know he suggested, that is something I could add after launch if it's something I want to do, or I could be working on it after like locking in all the features and well, waiting for Steam to have it updated shortly after launch. But yeah, because especially reading that Mike Rose article, you should try to finish the game within 1 year. It's like, oh my, I know I've kind of gone past any point of potential getting back my time for the thousands of hours I've spent on Carpoon, but it's a fun journey, a fun learning experience. The main goal is finishing and hitting that release button. So, yes, forcing text and UI. So did Nintendo, is that like a regulation for Nintendo? But yeah, working in a handheld does make sense. I think when I've seen it, Carpoon on Steam Deck, it's not bad. It's just the camera is a little bit wonky. So do you remember Xbox 360? Like with nuts and bolts, Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts, that was a big problem where a lot of games, the text would be so small. Maybe they had giant TVs for testing that it was almost unreadable. Probably things like Unity and Unreal have added different things. Oh yeah, this stupid music bug. Music is not playing right now. Sometimes there's double music still. That, with too many sound effects, is getting up there on the most annoying bugs list. But fixing that one where Carpoon or cars would go through the crusher, that was I was surprised how close I was to fixing that, and that only because I didn't make the density 0. Is that the cars would push the objects supposed to be blocking them. That's hilarious how close I was. I didn't realize it. So let's see, like if I have the car here. Oh no! It's trying to crush itself. Yeah, it can't go through now. Oh, well that one kind of went through. But it does block it now. See? Blocks it. So, that was a neat one to fix recently. That was getting up there on things that were bugging me. It does try to angle them through, and I think it could be better. The butter effect of Carpoon where cars slide. That seems to push them to the edge. So, York, while you're here, what do you think of if you harpoon this and makes the crusher activate? That was an idea John had recently. And you see, like when it crushes, the light does bounce around. Okay, that could be a fun thing, like if maybe somebody's going in, you can hit it and activate it and they get them killed when they don't expect it. One other thing for skilled players to kind of throw in there. Well, let's see, does it collide right? It kind of moves. Alright, now let's see if we can do that, and maybe that'll be the stream, the end of the stream today. Because poor Yoshiko without coffee upstairs. I'll go for it off. Oh, I'll have to cut your rope then. That's cutting the rope in versus does that a lot. So I might talk. I think next week, when I'm back, I'll probably see about another play test of Carpoon. Might be time during this week, but I'll be heading back on Saturday. So, definitely Autoworks to kind of in and out of how I see there's like particles being created by objects, such as the crate. I'm going to have to lower those down, and also car exhaust. Maybe not make that with objects, make it a particle system, see if that improves things. Maybe cut down the number of objects from 350 to 250, see if that's possible. And that should hopefully help that level. Okay, so this can be detected. It is one thing to get told by the recycling crusher to activate. It's another thing to tell the recycling crusher to crush, but we'll see. Okay, and it's got no parent object to worry about. Excellent. Okay, starting off, we got it from the harpoon. Let's just make it so it changes the light. Now, it's kind of changing it from the crusher spikes here. We don't want to overwrite that necessarily. Or we got to make sure it actually happens. We can I could probably create an alarm to keep track of time here. We'll go, it doesn't really matter now. Before it was, I jumped these gaps because it had a parent object and I got rid of that just because it's getting too complicated. So, alarm for harpoon hit. Now, if I want to be smart, I could make the image index go back here. Let's take a quick look. Activated. Okay. We'll just say if this is less than equal to 0. Now, I can, when you come back to it later and you just call it alarm 1, it doesn't really make sense. I'll call it something else. So I'll call it harpooned alarm. That way I know what it is. And man, laptops get super hot sometimes. Be nice in the winter, not so much in the summer. Okay, so now this won't overwrite when it's harpooned. we do want to basically copy this. And we'll make it so it goes back when the alarm's done. If I can find it. There, I almost closed that by leaving it on the same thing. I always love those programming things, like, why doesn't this work? And being completely blind to it for a long time. Oh, you're still there. Are you playing any new games recently that you would recommend? One button bosses over here was alright. Though I do, as Hayden knows, have to go back to more Dark Souls. Let's see. So, let's just see if this harpoon changes the light. And then, if that works, I'll go to making the Crush Growth. Panel de Pawn, which, like a Super Nintendo version? I'm pretty sure I have it on Super Famicom. And I do have the... You know, on GameCube in Japan, they released that one with a Dr. Mario, and it had Yoshi's Cookie and I think Panel de Pawn, I believe. I have that one. Yeah, doesn't Panel de Pawn have multiplayer on NSO or something like that? Might be a fun one to play at some point. Yeah, it's Tetris Attack in the US with Yoshi, yeah. Okay, let's see. Well, it's moving, but it didn't change. Like, it changes it for one frame. So obviously, I didn't set the alarm time. Oh yeah, and it's like Pokemon Puzzle League as I'm searching here right now. So that was the one recently on Switch, but yeah, let me see. Yeah, no, I've definitely. Oh yes, I wonder who did that article. Yeah, that's probably John. Yeah, Panel de Pawn. So let's. I want to see the GameCube Dr. Mario. Let me just double check. Yeah, I do. So this is the first one I had from the GameCube one. That I think it was like less than $10. Panel de Pawn. Oh yeah, no, that'd be great. We could play sometime on NSO. Cause yeah, did it have a 4-player one? That's what I'm trying to remember now. Brandon, is your internet good enough for NSO Online? Okay, we want to maybe make this probably 1.5 seconds. So we'll go 1.5 times room speed. And that will make it go back to there. So I don't even know how it's showing up for a frame before. I guess it would change it briefly, and then the very next frame would swap it back. Now let's assume that works, and It's too bad you did that. Starlink didn't. You couldn't keep that. I was thinking of getting that Starlink at my cabin at some point, but then I found out Telus, being like the standard main internet provider, started having op- like fiber optic available at the cabin, so I got it up there. And I chose a cheaper, slower version, of course, even though it's like not much of a difference. But it had like I think like 300 megabit up and down, so I should probably change my phone plan because I had a lot of data on my phone plan just for being up at the cabin, which I don't really need anymore because Telus would have infinite. Okay, so the Crusher, I think this button operates it. The funny thing about this is that I saved the Crusher layout. I mean, anything is better than the internet you have at home right now. Oh man, that tin cannon string looks pretty good. It happens, and it's a good, like with you, and I think Mervin, it's a couple other people. It's been good to like understand the importance of online play, even though I love relying on Steam Remote Play because like AI might make that better in the future. It was one less thing for me to do, and obviously I've taken a long time in Carpoon. Maybe Unreal and Unity handle online play a bit better. And also there's stories like King of the Hat spending 3 more years on their game that already had decent networking on Discord, but just wasn't good in multiple countries, with people that knew what they were doing. Okay, so I'll show you this. So yeah, the original kind of Crusher setup. It's all here saved. The earlier version. Now I had hoped this would save the initial art to see the difference, but the sprites I kind of just replaced them, and unfortunately it's not like a snapshot in time. Because when you replace a sprite, its object updates elsewhere. Yeah, like I would like to be done. Obviously, the Steam Remote Play being done. I mean, I don't think the amount of extra users would justify it. So, like, Kalen has probably spent a long time updating online, or I don't know. Like, I don't think there's just a button that you go click and get online play. So this is so it sounds easy just to make the Crusher go, but there's not a maybe triggering one of these alarms will do it. Yeah, it's very hard. So, like if I did it, it'd be on something simple like a puzzle game like Panel to Pawn. Got to make a single story player mode for online. Well, that's the thing. Like when I was talking to one developer one time, single player games are kind of the way to go for small developers. Um, like, you have to be honest, there's not a lot of like maybe you hear about co-op and stuff, and a few of them like as an add-on. There's not a lot with multiplayer, um, which is sad. I love multiplayer games, but maybe there's just too many big big games out there with multiplayer. That's where the main focus is, like Fortnite or I don't know. My nephew is playing a lot of Supercell on a mobile game, and it's like, wow, I hardly understand what's going on. It's like for not playing mobile games for many years. It's just the way it is. Maybe like maybe indie games are played by older people, and it is harder to kind of get friends together at that point. So button active equals true might work. So we'll try that. And I'll be lazy, I won't check if it exists or anything. So you're waiting for Unreal to come out with a new character component with built-in online. Is that something they've announced they're working on? Because now it sounds like that would be very handy. I mean, Unreal's always adding in all sorts of neat tools to make it better for developers. Let's see now if the Harpoon triggers the light too, which I just kind of guessed would work. Oh, well, that's great. That's in the roadmap. So if I was to make a single player game, I'd probably do one of those environment games I thought of, like Life of a Salmon or something. Okay, it is triggering the button. That's great. It's not really sticking. Something's happening that's making the frame change back quickly. So we also probably, let's see how the spikes are done. See if we can figure this, but if not, I'll probably have to end in 15 minutes. Is there more to it? No, not more there, so leave the left side, controls the right side. It's like, it's been so long. I looked at this a bit briefly to get rid of that thing where they were going between the wall and the crusher, the cars, but it's been so long since I touched this, I have to refresh my memory. So this could be activated. Okay. How do you get activated? Probably this does make it activated. Nope. I think it pulls, it just checks to keep it separate. So this is what I get for making this so friendly to players. Okay, so crush could equals true. I feel like it's going to break something, but I'll try it. Oh, crusher light. What the heck is that? Oh, okay, yeah. It's like, what the heck is that thing that I'm working on right now? Now, this is gonna be tough. Where do I want to give them a little bit of warning or just let them go? But I'll just try to get it working first and go crush equals true. Oh, crusher left static. Okay. Probably, I think in these, this might have the secret. These little boxes actually detect when you're going over them. There's a thinner one to give you that little bit of buffer of time, while the blue one is the warning. How much bigger is the map outside the camera? Let's take a look. It kind of goes on for a while because the camera wasn't so good at one point. It is that big. Like probably it doesn't have to be that big. Probably could be like the top and bottom could probably stay about the same, but the sides probably don't have to be as long. You know, like it might have been fun to have more city and just to go around. Although this level I feel it turned out the best really, which is funny being the first level. I'm looking at probably I'll have to trigger this, but I will try just forcing it with these things. And I'll see what happens. Yeah, it's getting late over there, but thank you so much for dropping by, Yerk. I'm also going to end in a few minutes here, maybe after this try, see what happens. But thank you for dropping by, and I'll talk to you soon about Panel the Pawn or something. Scarlet Panel the Pawn next. I've got it confirmed. Behind every joke there's a bit of truth. added 2 M's here because of GameMaker being slow. Well, let's see if that fixes it. Yeah, if you want to do that, I could program Pen on the Pond. You can provide the Scarlet art. I'd be down. Okay, let's see if getting rid of 1M fixes that. Well, not this thing, but hey look, it crushes. Oh, Scarlet Devon. So, I'll have to get the spikes to show up, but it's pretty close. I like how getting the green light to stay in place with the frame of animation is proving to be the hardest thing. Yeah, make art of that sometime. That could be the new fan art. Let's see if it crushes a truck without spikes. That is something I don't know. Probably is not necessary. Oh no, what's this? What's this co-op? That is too short of a time in co-op. That's gonna be hard to test because I have to drive in and not. Let me line up my shot. Okay. Now I have to drive in. Let me do the mental math of figuring out which controller is which. Yeah, it crushes, so. Nice love of your life again, yeah. I brought a drawing book the other day. I'll probably take a bit of time today to do some drawing. So yeah, we got the light working. I'll have to get the spikes showing up. I think that's a pretty good spot to end it for today, just so I can get make some fresh coffee. And yeah, thank you so much for everyone dropping by. Definitely we can do a panel upon day at some point. Just general game night. I would love to do one of these, like live streaming, playing Carpoon 2 at one point, but I am of course fine just playing in the Discord, as I should do more playtesting. That's something I notice. Like Paul Hubens working on Madhouse. He does a lot of playtests, though he kind of slowed down a bit. And yeah, no, it's been fun. 1 week left in Japan here. Haven't melted yet, got used to the heat, had a lot of fun. And no, thanks so much everybody. Hope you all have a great week. I'll slowly end this stream. Bye everyone.